This IPO has been more than 5 years in the making. So walk me through the process and explain to us why this is so significant for the company and the exchange.
Thank you, Dan. Absolutely. Today we mark a significant milestone for our transformation. As you remember, when we announced earlier in 2016 our intention to float the company, Vision 2030 came into the scene, where we found a great opportunity for us to transform as being part of the bigger transformation of the kingdom and the economy and the financial sector in particular. And this is what happened. We worked very hard on opening up the markets, attracting foreign investors to participate, creating the right platforms and incentives for corporates to list in the market, to add depth and more depth to our equity markets. So this is basically what we have been focusing on. The intention to float has been and continued to be one of our targets, and we are here today.
Absolutely. I know it's been a long journey for you. When you look at the details here, the core beneficiary is going to be the Public Investment Fund, and this IPO was well oversubscribed as well, Khalid. So what underscores some of the demand that you've seen, and what can you tell me about the composition of the investors that have been taking part?
Absolutely. The group was, until yesterday, owned fully by the PIF. Today, we have a more diversified share book. Demand was significant by all types of investors, local, regional, and international, which we were very pleased about. The book has been covered more than 121 times, raising more than 485 or 58 billion Saudi riyal. The allocation or the share book diversification today has at least 20% of the offered side to international investors, public funds, Saudi corporates, and sovereign accounts from GCC and globally. So, as well as retail, which we have allocated 30% of the total offered size. So, we do believe that today we have a very diversified book. Contained all types of investors and from all around the world.
And walk me through the performance of the market more broadly. What's been happening there over the past 6 to 12 months? Because we know Tadawul has been one of the best performing markets in the region, indeed one of the best performing markets in the world. So what are the factors driving that, and how is it going to impact your strategy now as a public company?
So many factors then contributed to that. I think the momentum on the transformation on the kingdom and the opportunities for Saudi corporates to grow and benefit from such transformation played a great comforting factor for investors to invest in these companies. We have seen and we have worked very hard on creating the right incentives for Saudi corporates to come to the market, building several channels. For companies to come to main market, to come to the parallel market to support SME growth. Privatization is one of the key factors. So all of these continue to create the momentum around Saudi corporate pipeline coming to the market, as well as performance and financial performance of many of the Saudi corporates also contributed a lot on the growth of the TASI, the Saudi index. So the momentum is great. The potential is also great. And from our strategy, we see this as a key success factor for our growth as a group, being a listed entity today within the Saudi exchange.
I also wanted to get your reaction to some pretty significant news we've seen in the past 24 hours out of the UAE. No doubt you've heard the UAE is going to be changing its working week. We're going to be seeing a half day on Friday, Saturday and Sundays are going to be off, and equity trading days are going to be changing as well. Will Saudi Arabia follow the UAE's lead here and create alignment for these regional exchanges, or are we going to see a differential gap on trading days here?
So, from the perspective of whether the kingdom will adjust its weekends and working days, I think this is a decision that I cannot comment on today. But from a capital market perspective, today we haven't seen concerns as we speak by international investors on the gap between trading days on the West and Saudi Arabia. So this continued to be a no issue for us. However, we continue to look at our trading hours because this is also an important factor. What cross trading hours do you have with regional markets, Asia, Europe, and US? This is what we try always to do. As you know, we open a little bit later than many GCC exchanges just for that reason. But we keep a very close eye on our integration with the global markets. And if there is a demand on that, I'm sure we would look at how do we integrate better, but not necessarily reacting to a decision that is made by UAE yesterday.
Okay, so how will traders and investors find a balance between the two? Because Saudi Arabia and the UAE, these are the two major economies in the region, are not going to have alignment on trading days in just a matter of weeks. Remember, this change in the UAE comes into effect at the start of January. So, Khalid, isn't that separation bad for business? Is it something that you're open to review at this point?
So if you look at the settlement cycle, Dan, it's a T+2 structure in both markets. So the investors actually sometimes will benefit from a different in weekends. I'm not supporting that separation, but I'm saying you can't look at it from the perspective that it is actually separating. Sometimes it is an opportunity for investors to see this gap of settlement and difference in the weekends. However, we do believe that we are a very significant market in the region and actually in the world as well. And we keep a very close eyes whenever we see concerns by international investors. But what I can assure you here, that this difference of 1 day between us and the West and Asia haven't been raised as a flag of concern by international investors in the last 2 or 3 years when we started actually attracting international capitals to the market. But we're always flexible to look at things. And at due course, we would look at what is required to any integration that the market would require.
And Khalid, we'll be following that closely as well. Just before I let you go, I wanted to get a sense of what's going to happen next here. I've been following the capital markets in the region for a long time now, in particular, the progress that you've been seeing in Saudi Arabia. I know you've been working on the regulatory framework. You've had the EM indices inclusion, the listing of Aramco, which was huge. You've launched derivatives as well. And now there's also this healthy pipeline of IPOs in the Saudi market, I guess you could say. What are the next steps when it comes to improving the sophistication and the maturity of the Saudi market? What needs to happen next in order to bring Saudi Arabia up to the level of ambition that you see that the country can have for its capital markets?
Absolutely. So many to come, Dan. We're working very closely with the stakeholders on even further developing the debt markets. We're working as well with the regulator on further developments on the fund markets, where we will introduce several services around that fund. We're looking at introducing the second derivatives market in the next few months, which is the single future contracts, to add even another flavor and offering to that market. We're looking as well as inorganic side of integration around data and technology that support the capital market developments. So lots on our plates to complement the opportunity ahead of us, whether these are local, regional, or global opportunities that we pursue.